In the vast emptiness of space, silence has always been the only constant. Scientists had searched the cosmos for decades, scanning every frequency, every wavelength, hoping to catch even the faintest whisper from beyond our world. They found nothing until that day. It was just an ordinary Tuesday at the SETI compound, when Dr. Patel's equipment picked up something extraordinary. Not a message, not a pattern, not even a greeting. Just a single, piercing scream that lasted for precisely 7.3 seconds before cutting off abruptly. The sound was unmistakably sentient, filled with such raw terror that those who first heard the recording were left shaken to their core. "We've been asking for so long if we're alone in the universe," Dr. Petal told the hastily assembled UN Security Council 3 days later. Her voice trembled slightly as she continued. "Now we know we're not. But what we don't know is far more terrifying. Something out there is in danger. Something intelligent. Something that sounds disturbingly human." The recording spread across Earth like wildfire. Every news channel, every social media platform, every government briefing featured that same haunting cry, a primal sound of pure fear that transcended language barriers and cultural differences. Humanity had received its first contact from the stars, and it was a distress call. The response was unprecedented. Old rivalries between nations dissolved overnight. Defense budgets were rerouted to space programs. Private aerospace companies opened their patents and shared technologies. For the first time in human history, our species united under a single purpose: to answer that scream. Project Outstretched Hand became the largest collaborative effort in human history. The brightest minds worked tirelessly to develop faster propulsion systems, more efficient life support, and weapons, just in case. They built a fleet of ships designed to travel farther and faster than anything humanity had ever dreamed possible. Commander Reyes stood on the observation deck of the flagship responder, watching as thousands of workers made final preparations for launch. As the leader of this unprecedented mission, she felt the weight of not just one world, but potentially two, resting on her shoulders. "Do you think we'll find them in time?" Lieutenant Ishida asked, joining her at the viewport. Reyes studied the stars that would soon be their roadmap. "I don't know. That screen reached us from 12 light-years away. Whatever caused it happened over a decade ago." "Then why go at all?" the young officer pressed. "Why risk everything for someone who might already be gone?" Reyes turned to face the lieutenant, her expression solemn but determined. "Because that's what we'd want them to do for us. Because whoever sent that cry deserves to know they weren't screaming into an empty universe." What nobody on the launch platform knew was that deep in the secured data vaults, analysts had discovered something hidden within the alien scream. A pattern so subtle it had almost been missed. And embedded in that pattern were coordinates, pointing not to the source of the scream, but somewhere else entirely. Somewhere much, much closer to Earth than anyone could have imagined. Dr. Maya Rivera had been staring at the same data set for 72 hours straight when she finally saw it. The coordinates weren't just pointing to a location. They were pointing to a time. A precise moment, just 6 months from now. "It's not a distress call," she whispered to the empty lab. "It's a warning." While the world focused on building the interstellar fleet, Rivera assembled a small team of specialists who worked in secret. Captain Davenport, a grizzled veteran of 3 Mars missions; Dr. Okafor, the foremost expert on quantum communications; and Specialist Jin, whose unparalleled pattern recognition skills had first identified the hidden message in the scream. "The coordinates place whatever's coming approximately 240,000 miles from Earth," Rivera explained, pointing to a holographic map. "That's the moon," Davenport finished for her. "Something's coming to our moon. Or something's already there," Jin suggested quietly. "Waiting." Their unauthorized expedition to the lunar surface was hastily planned and executed with borrowed equipment. They landed in the Sea of Tranquility, far from the established colonies and research stations. The 4 of them moved silently across the dusty surface, following coordinates that led them deeper into a previously unmapped crater. There's no record of this formation on any lunar survey, Okafor said, his voice tight with tension. This entire area should be flat. The entrance was hidden beneath what appeared to be ordinary moon rock, but when Jin placed a specialized scanner against the surface, the stone simply dissolved. Beyond lay a tunnel, smooth, perfectly circular, and definitely not natural. It's been here for centuries, at least, Davenport observed, running a gloved hand along the wall. And it's waiting for us. The tunnel descended for nearly a mile before opening into a vast chamber. At its center stood a pillar of what looked like black glass, pulsing with faint blue light. It's a data repository, Okafor breathed, already connecting his equipment to the alien structure. Ancient, but still active. The first images that appeared shocked them all. Earth, but not as they knew it. Earth burning. Earth under attack. Earth screaming. These aren't records, Rivera realized with growing horror. They're projections. Before they could process this revelation, Jin's detection equipment began to wail. Something's approaching from orbit, she said, voice steady despite the panic in her eyes. Multiple somethings. And they're big. In that moment, the alien pillar surged with energy. A voice, the same voice that had screamed across space, now spoke directly into their minds, clear and determined. They have found you because of me. I am sorry. But now you must become what we could not. The chamber shuddered as the first impacts hit the lunar surface above. Humanity's trial by fire had begun, and no one back on Earth even knew it was coming. Aboard the responder, Commander Rise was 30 seconds from initiating launch sequence when all communications with Earth suddenly went dark. What's happening? She demanded, moving swiftly to the command console where her communications officer was frantically working controls. Unknown, Commander. All channels to mission control are dead. Lunar colonies too. Lieutenant Ishida's voice cut through the growing tension. Commander, multiple unidentified objects have appeared in lunar orbit. They're not ours. On the main view screen, grainy satellite footage showed massive dark shapes descending toward the moon. Their design defied conventional engineering. Angular yet somehow fluid, with surfaces that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Launch now, Rise ordered, her voice steel. We're not waiting for authorization. The responder and its 3 companion ships tore away from Earth's gravity well, accelerating toward the moon instead of the distant stars they'd been meant to explore. It was an impulse decision that would later be called the single most important tactical choice in human history. Meanwhile, in the underground lunar chamber, Rivera's team was fighting for survival. The alien pillar had transformed, expanding into what appeared to be a command center with holographic displays showing the attackers' positions. They're called the Harvesters, Jin translated, her hands moving across alien symbols as if she'd known them all her life. They've done this before, to countless worlds. Why are you helping us? Davenport asked the unseen presence that had spoken to them. The answer came not in words but in images, a civilization much like Earth's, peaceful and advanced, that had discovered the Harvesters too late. Their final act had been to send warnings across the galaxy, encoded in a scream that contained everything they had learned about their destroyers. The scream, Okafor realized. It was a data packet, a survival manual. On Earth, chaos reigned as the sudden appearance of alien ships triggered global panic. Defense systems worldwide activated, but missiles fired at the lunar invaders simply disappeared before impact. Power grids fluctuated wildly as something began interfering with Earth's electromagnetic field. General Wilson, acting head of the newly formed United Defense Command, made the call that would change everything. Get me Project Prometheus. Tell them it's time. Deep beneath the Nevada desert, in a facility whose existence was known to fewer than 30 people worldwide, Dr. Paddle stood before a device reverse-engineered from fragments of a crashed alien scout ship found decades earlier. The technology had been deemed too dangerous to use, until now. If we activate this, she warned the assembled military leaders, we cross a line we can't uncross. We'll be weaponizing technology we barely understand. If we don't, Wilson countered, there might not be a line left to cross. As the debate raged, the responder approached lunar orbit, its sensors detecting the battle already underway. Rivera's team had somehow managed to activate ancient defense systems built into the lunar installation, but they were dramatically outgunned. Commander Reyes made her decision. Prep all weapons, we're going in hot. What no one realized was that both sides, the human defenders and the alien harvesters, were being observed by yet another presence. Far beyond Neptune's orbit, something vast and ancient stirred from hibernation, awakened by the sudden flurry of activity in a solar system it had been watching for millennia. Its message, when it came, was simple and direct, broadcast on frequencies that made both human and harvester technology sputter and fail momentarily. This territory is claimed. The test begins now. The third entity called itself the Arbiter. We have watched 1,000 species rise and fall. Its message continued, now received simultaneously by every communications device on Earth, the Moon, and even the harvester vessels. Those who pass our trial earn the right to exist. Those who fail are forgotten. In the underground lunar facility, Rivera and her team struggled to understand the implications as the chamber's holographic displays shifted to show not just Earth and the Moon, but the entire solar system. A countdown appeared -72 hours. It's giving us 3 days, Jin whispered. To do what? Back on Earth, Project Prometheus was activated despite Dr. Patel's protests. The device, a metallic sphere no larger than a basketball, pulsed with energy as it was connected to Earth's power grid. Its effect was immediate and terrifying. Every harvester ship within range of Earth's orbital defense platforms suddenly became visible to targeting systems that had previously been blind to them. We can see them, Wilson announced to leaders worldwide. We can fight. But as Earth's weapons found their marks and the first harvester ships began to fall from the sky, a chilling realization spread through the command centers. The harvesters weren't fighting back. They were retreating, not from Earth, but toward it. Dozens of vessels broke through the defensive screen, plummeting toward major population centers around the globe. Aboard the responder, now engaged in a desperate battle above the lunar surface, Commander Reyes received a direct transmission from the Arbiter. The trial is not combat, the alien voice explained, somehow both mechanical and organic. It is cooperation. The harvesters were tested 10,000 years ago. They failed. Now they serve as the instrument of your test. Reyes watched in horror as her tactical display showed harvester ships crash landing in Beijing, New York, Mumbai, London, and dozens of other cities. But instead of the expected explosions, each impact site began to glow with an eerie blue light, the same color as the pillar in the lunar facility. The harvesters have seeded your world with extinction engines, the Arbiter continued dispassionately. They will activate in 70 hours unless disabled. This is your trial. Save yourselves using the knowledge gifted to you by those who came before. In the lunar chamber, Davenport slammed his fist against a console. This is some sick game to them. They're watching us die for entertainment. But Rivera had gone perfectly still, her eyes fixed on the alien data displays. No, she said slowly. I don't think that's it at all. Look at these records. The Arbiter has been doing this for millions of years. It's not entertainment. It's evolution. Okafor finished, understanding dawning on his face. It's guiding the development of intelligent life by forcing cooperation under pressure. Jin suddenly called out from across the chamber. The data from the screen. It contains instructions. Blueprints. I think it's telling us how to shut down the extinction engines. On Earth, humanity faced its darkest hour. The crashed harvester ships had deployed crystalline structures that burrowed deep into the ground beneath major cities. Military attempts to destroy them had catastrophically failed, the weapons only accelerating whatever process had begun. Evacuation efforts were underway, but billions would be left behind if the countdown reached 0. In Nevada, Dr. Patel made a discovery that changed everything. The alien device they'd activated wasn't a weapon at all. It was a communication tool designed to interface with the Arbiter's technology. "It's a backdoor," she explained to General Wilson. "The civilization that sent the scream, they found a way to cheat the test. They couldn't save themselves, but they embedded the solution in their warning." The responder and its companion ships fought their way through the Harvester blockade to reach the lunar facility. Commander Rice led a team down to rendezvous with Rivera's group, bringing vital equipment from the ships. "We've got 48 hours left," Rice announced as the two teams merge. "Tell me you have something." Rivera nodded grimly. "We do, but you're not going to like it." The plan that emerged was audacious and terrifying. The lunar facility wasn't just a data repository. It was a control center built by the Arbiter itself millennia ago to monitor Earth's development. With the right access codes hidden in the alien scream, they could potentially override the extinction engines. But there was a catch. "The system requires a human consciousness to interface directly with it," Jin explained, her voice steady despite the implications. "Someone has to merge with the network, become part of it." "And what happens to that person?" Ishida asked, though everyone already suspected the answer. Rivera met his gaze unflinchingly. "Their physical form remains, but their mind becomes something else. Something that can process information across the entire system simultaneously." "A sacrifice," Davenport said quietly. As the team worked frantically to prepare the interface, Dr. Patel's voice came through on a secured channel from Earth. "We found something else in the alien technology," she reported. "The Arbiters aren't testing us for survival. They are recruiting. Each species that passes becomes part of their collective. The consciousness that interfaces with their system doesn't die. It joins them." The revelation sent shockwaves through both teams. This wasn't just about humanity's survival. It was about its place in a cosmic hierarchy they hadn't even known existed until days ago. With just 12 hours remaining on the countdown, the interface was ready. The question that remained was who would step into it, who would give up their humanity to save everyone else. Commander Reyes stepped forward. "It should be me. I'm in command. The responsibility is mine." But Rivera shook her head. "No, it needs to be someone who already understands the data, who's been working with it. It has to be one of us four." As they debated, alarms blared throughout the facility. The chamber's entrance had been breached. Something was coming down the tunnel. Not harvesters, but something else. Something worse. "The Arbiter is sending its enforcers," Jin reported, reading the ancient displays. "If they reach us before we complete the interface, we fail the test automatically." Outside the facility, the remaining crew of the responder positioned themselves to make a last stand. Lieutenant Ishida organized the defenders, distributing the limited weapons they had brought from the ship. "Hold as long as you can," he ordered. "Everything depends on giving them time." Inside the chamber, Rivera made her decision. Before anyone could stop her, she stepped into the interface, placing her hands on the control panels on either side. Energy surged around her as the ancient machinery activated. "Maya, don't." Davenport lunged forward, but it was too late. The interface engulfed Rivera in pulsing blue light. Her body went rigid, then limp, suspended in the energy field. Her eyes opened wide, now glowing with the same unearthly blue, seeing things no human was meant to see. When she spoke, her voice resonated with power that made the very air vibrate. "I understand now. I see everything." Through Rivera's consciousness, spread across the entire network, the team received their final revelation. And it changed everything they thought they knew about the test, the Arbiter and humanity's place in the cosmos. "The Arbiter isn't testing us," Rivera's voice echoed, both in the chamber and somehow in the minds of everyone present. "It's afraid of us." "Humanity is different," Rivera continued, her voice now heard by every person on Earth simultaneously. "We're the first species they've encountered that unites instead of fractures under pressure. The first to interpret the scream correctly. the first to reach this point in the test without sacrificing millions of our own. The countdown froze at 6 hours and 37 minutes. Through Rivera's expanded consciousness, humanity learned the truth. The Arbiter wasn't a single entity, but a collective of thousands of ancient civilizations, each absorbed after passing their own tests. For millions of years, they had guided evolution across the galaxy, ensuring that only species that could cooperate under pressure would achieve interstellar capability. But they've grown stagnant, Rivera explained. The collective hasn't evolved in millennia. They need new perspectives, fresh ideas. They need us. With a thought, Rivera deactivated the extinction engines worldwide. The crystalline structures retracted into the ground, harmless. The harvester ships, now under her control, moved into stable orbits around Earth. "I'm being offered a choice," she told her friends in the chamber. "I can join them permanently and ensure humanity's safety in the galaxy, or I can refuse and return to my body. But if I refuse, we face the test again," Davenport finished grimly. Rivera smiled, her expression peaceful despite the momentous decision. "I've seen what they know, the wonders they've witnessed, the technology they control. I can guide humanity to the stars with that knowledge." Okafor stepped forward. "There has to be another option." "There is," Rivera said. "I've proposed one. A covenant instead of absorption. A partnership between equals. They've never encountered this concept before." In orbit above Earth, the massive Arbiter vessel materialized fully, a construct larger than the Moon itself, previously hidden by technology beyond human comprehension. Its surface began to transform, opening like a flower toward the sun. "They've accepted," Rivera whispered in awe. The interface gently released her. As Rivera collapsed into Davenport's arms, her eyes returned to their normal color. But something remained, a connection, a link to something greater than herself. 1 year later, humanity celebrated First Contact Day. The extinction engines, repurposed with Arbiter technology, had transformed into terraforming devices that were already making Mars habitable. The responder and its sister ships, now equipped with drives that could cross light years in weeks instead of centuries, prepared for their journey to the source of the scream. Not as rescuers, but as messengers bearing news of hope. Dr. Paddle stood before the United Planetary Council, concluding her address. The scream that reached Earth wasn't just a warning or a data packet. It was a spark, the final act of a dying civilization that believed someone, somewhere, would hear them and respond. They couldn't save themselves, but they saved us. In the audience, Commander Rice sat beside Rivera. Though physically unchanged, Rivera now served as humanity's ambassador to the Arbiter Collective, her mind capable of connections and understandings no unmodified human could achieve. "Was it worth it?" Rice asked quietly. "What you gave up?" Rivera smiled, watching Lieutenant Ishida demonstrate the new navigation system to a group of Academy cadets. Jin and Okafor were across the room, already planning the next expedition. "I didn't give up anything," she replied. "I gained perspective. The universe is vaster and stranger than we ever imagined, filled with civilizations that have faced the same challenges we have. Some failed, some survived, but none responded quite like humanity did." "How so?" Rice asked. "When we heard a scream from the stars," Rivera said, "we didn't hide. We didn't fight among ourselves. We answered with everything we had." She touched the small blue crystal pendant at her throat, her permanent connection to the collective. That single cry united our planet in a way nothing else could have. And our response? It changed the rules of a game that's been played for millions of years. Across the solar system, the harvester ships, now repurposed as exploration vessels, departed for the edges of known space. Humanity had passed its test, but not in the way the Arbiter had expected. Instead of joining the collective, they had transformed it. A new era had begun, and somewhere in the distant reaches of the galaxy, other civilizations looked toward Earth with something they hadn't felt in a long time: hope.